Nike's a big brand that comes with many successes. However, it also means they're not immune to problems and even outright failures. There's a very specific problem that plagues almost every huge brand, at least eventually: product bloat. It's when a company gets so successful, so comfortable, that they start creating confusing and redundant products. They lose their instinct. They lose the cutting edge that once made them stand out. We saw it with Apple in the mid-90s, right before Steve Jobs returned, and they had a complete mess of overlapping computers until Jobs came back and simplified everything. And in the 2000s, Blockbuster had a big problem of its own, and it wasn't because people stopped renting movies. These are both great examples of when brands lose focus. So when I look at a shoe like this, the Nike Vomero 18, I have to ask myself, did Nike just create a redundant product, thereby creating confusion in their own lineup? Or have they finally made the Vomero into what it's been destined to be all along? Hey guys, welcome back to the Time to Run channel, where I do most of the research so you don't have to do it all on your own. My name is Joel, and today we're talking about the Nike Vomero 18. Just know Nike kindly sent me these shoes for free, but Nike nor anyone else got to preview, edit, or provide feedback prior to me posting this video here on YouTube. No one is paying me to review these shoes or make this video. All right, let's dive in. Nike says the Vomero 18 is a maximum cushioned everyday trainer, but of course I'll be giving you my opinion of the shoe and whether or not Nike's claims are confirmed with my real world testing. And if that helps to know right off the bat, for the most part, I already agree with this claim from Nike, but I have a huge disclaimer that I'll be covering here in a few minutes. If you're someone who wants your daily miles to feel smooth and predictable, and a little bit luxurious, especially without the high price tag of the premium versions, in my opinion, this is genuinely one of Nike's best options. And that has a lot to do with the cushioning, especially if you're a heavier runner like myself. But before we get into that, let's first dive into the fit. So I consider this shoe true to size, with the added clarification that it's only slightly narrower than a true US men's size 12, just slightly. With that in mind, I still honestly had no issues, even on an unseasonably hot all-day walking tour in San Francisco over the summer with my family. No blisters, no rubbing. I will say that if you currently have blisters though, these likely will not be a comfortable option while you are waiting for your blister issues to subside. I ran in a pair of Brooks Hyperion Max 3s, and those shoes do not fit true to size whatsoever. The blisters I attribute to the Hyperion Maxes meant that wearing the Vomeros was uncomfortable. This is because everything is snug in the toe box area, and like I said, running wasn't problematic with the Vomero 18s initially. I put several runs in. It was only after I had run in a different pair of shoes that were much too tight that then the Vomeros became uncomfortable until my blisters subsided. Now let's move on to the look of the shoe. If I had to pick one colorway for the Nikes to use for the rest of my life, it would definitely be the white and Volt. I remember when the white and Volt first came out, and I loved it ever since. The look of the midsole with this convex outward shape emphasizes just how much cushioning is here for you. Nike continues their long-standing tradition of picking the most extensive naming conventions for their shoes as well. This one is actually on the shorter side, with white, electric green, Volt, and black. I'm always a fan of the Volt colorways. Now, the reflective accents are really nice here. They can be seen on the top loop here, flanking the lateral and medial part of the heel counter. Even the Nike logo is reflective back here. And in case you're wondering, there are no reflective accents in the front of the shoe. Now, the upper is stretchy enough, but not sloppy. It's a breathable engineered mesh that's good for an all-around shoe like this. It's very durable, which makes you feel really secure while wearing the shoe. Most of the materials up top are soft, from the top of the tongue to the laces and the upper itself. Lacing is secure with no tongue bite, but as Coach Bennett from Nike has always said, when tying your shoes, lift up your big toe so you don't over-tighten your laces. That's always good advice before you start your runs. Now, as far as the collar and the heel padding, it's dialed in. And the heel counter stiffness didn't disappoint either. They've added more padding around the collar, updated from version 17, which just goes to show how much they're focusing on prioritizing comfort here. Now, the tongue comes gusseted, so it keeps the tongue in place. Nike added extra padding here as well. Yet another area of focusing on comfort. Now, for the midsole, for that cushioning, I want you to imagine the most comfortable shoe you can imagine and then make it ever so slightly stiffer in your mind. This is what the ride of the Vomero feels like underfoot, at least in my opinion. All that being said, the ZoomX and the ReactX foam are really dialed in for comfort, all the while maintaining the stability you'd want for higher stack shoes such as this. Speaking of the stack, the forefoot measures in at 36 millimeters and the heel at 46 for a moderate to higher 10 millimeter drop. Now, the rocker in the shoe is surprisingly noticeable in a positive way. It's helped me move through my strides effortlessly, especially at slower paces. It doesn't feel forced and it doesn't feel blocky. It's a smooth, easy roll through. And the toe off is honestly great, much better than the Pegasus model I've run in. This is where the rocker geometry really shines the most. I just roll forward and go. And this shoe doesn't bottom out. It's not marshmallow soft and it's not rigid. It sits right in the Goldilocks zone between cushioning and structure. And does it feel tall? Well, of course it does. It is 46 millimeters of stack in the back, of course, but so does nearly every shoe in this category nowadays. It's the trade-off for comfort, and Nike handles it well. Now, is this shoe too soft or too firm? Well, I'd say neither. It's right in the middle. Think soft enough to enjoy, firm enough to last. In my observations, this is where most people misunderstand the Vomero. It's not a plush pillow, and it's not a firmer daily trainer. It's the daily trainer for people who want both. So a big question every time a new shoe gets released, and that question is always asked by individuals which ask, is this a stability shoe? And while I won't say this was intended with overpronators or underpronators in mind, as Nike themselves say it's a neutral shoe, is it stable in the most basic sense though? Absolutely. And it's worth noting it's more stable than the Infinity Run 4 for those of you who have run in that. And to me, it's far more stable than what I'd expect from a 46 millimeter heel stack. I really struggled with the Infinity Run 4 for running. I ended up just using that one as a shoe to wear around town. And let's be abundantly clear, it won't go out of its way to correct under or overpronation, but it's also not lacking sure footing. The Vomero is a great trainer. There's no wobble, no collapse. And for a tall shoe, it's incredibly controlled, no complaints. And as far as the heel, even though I'm a midfoot striker, the heel cushioning is super enjoyable, especially for walking or casual miles. I feel the stack, but in a protective way, not in a mushy one. So if you're wondering if the Vomero is a plated trainer, it's not. There's no assistance from a nylon, plastic, composite, or carbon fiber plate. Let's move on to the outsole. Here, the rubber is strong. Mine barely shows anywhere at all. They're strategically placed rubber pads to help with commonly used areas. I've always liked it when Nike uses rubber for their daily trainers instead of hardened midsole foam or a variation of that. And until I've actually put more miles into these own shoes, I'm usually against throwing out specific numbers for how many miles you should get out of a shoe. There are just too many factors. But if I had to guess, because the shoe uses ReactX foam on the bottom as well as the rubber itself, I would guess you could probably get around 350 to about 500 miles out of these shoes. So the real question is, where does it sit in Nike's lineup? Here's the simplest way to understand this shoe. Think Pegasus being durable, sometimes considered reliably boring as a daily trainer. The Vomero is a max cushion daily trainer, and the Invincible is a max cushion recovery / long run shoe. If you didn't notice, I put the Vomero sitting exactly in the middle. More cushioning than the Pegasus and more bounce than the Invincible. And if we're being real, way more stability than the Infinity Run 4, and much more mature and consistent than the Pegasus Plus. This is the first Vomero in years that actually feels like what the Vomero was always meant to be. Now, before I talk about who the shoe is made for, quick note, if you're like me, the holidays sneak up faster than Eliud Kipchoge on his final Berlin Mile. Most of us will be doing a lot of gift shopping online this year, and that's where NordVPN comes in. Whether you're buying running shoes for a friend or a new smartwatch for yourself, NordVPN keeps your connection private and secure so you don't have to worry about hackers or sneaky tracking while you shop. Seriously, it's one less thing to stress about during the busiest time of the year. It's easy to set up, works across multiple devices, and gives you peace of mind while you click through all those holiday deals. Seriously, it's like sticking to a familiar running route. safe, reliable, and stress-free, so you can just enjoy the run. So if you want to keep your shopping private and safe this holiday season, hit the link in the description to set it up today. And I have a few special deals you can check out just in time for the holidays. All right, now let's get back into the Nike Vomero 18 review. So who is this shoe made for? Who should buy it and who shouldn't buy it? Buy it if you want comfort without mushiness. If you're a heavier runner like myself needing reliable cushioning, you want a smoother ride than the Pegasus, you want a comfortable walking plus hybrid running shoe. Skip it, however, if you want ground feel, if you want a snappier, lower firmer ride, if you want a tempo or speed shoe, or you just hate taller shoes. Now, if we took a group of runners who had only 2 pairs of shoes in the rotation, some runners couldn't ignore the Pegasus entirely. Those who prefer the max cushion side of trainers. So they could stick the Vomero and the Invincible. Meanwhile, a vast majority of minimalist runners could ignore the Invincible entirely and set the Vomero as their primary max cushion shoe. So this shoe has been on the market since February 2025 and retails for $155 from Nike. But honestly, Nike is always throwing deals out there, so you're likely to catch it at a much lower price depending on the colorway. And Gore-Tex versions are around $180. And let's not forget to answer the ultimate question I started my video with. Is Nike about to make this same mistake, making the Vomero a redundant product in their lineup when they already have the Pegasus as a workhorse and the Invincible as the max cushion king? Well, my answer to you is not at all. I don't think Nike is making a redundant product here at all. Each shoe has its own distinct feel, and frankly, these shoes, the 3 shoes, don't share many similarities. In my opinion, I believe this shoe stands on its own. This is one of those shoes that disappears underfoot when you're on your runs, and that's the biggest compliment I can give a daily trainer. Well, this wraps my review of the Nike Vomero 18, but here's the real question. What didn't I answer for you? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to talk more about that. And if you want to join a growing community of runners who care more about the joys of running than the pressure to perform, subscribe below. And if anyone asks you what your favorite running YouTube channel is, just tell them it's time to run. I'll see you in the next one.